Live.
All
So,
right. Look at
first
that.
virtual brown bag in many years of us just trying today through all the
Yeah, it's
Hangout
been
stuff
like
set
what,
up, the
4
recording,
years
and
now?
just catching up, stuff like that. So, I'll start and then kind of go around and we just introduce ourselves and what we're working on and just get each
Sure.
other caught up. So, I'm Jonathan Burkholz, aka JB. And so but the last virtual brown bag or whatever was switching over to mostly Rails, but now I do a lot of my backend in Phoenix written in Elixir. It's freaking awesome. So I'll be showcasing a lot of that stuff because I think it's super cool. And front end side, I do everything: Angular, Ember, React. I've done Knockout, I've done Backbone, I've done it all. So I'll be sharing different front end technologies with me, not really caring which one it is, and just trying to get stuff done. But anyway, that's sort of what I'm working on right now. I do freelance stuff and focus mostly on startups, and I have one client right now that essentially is full time.
All right.
So Claudia, you want to
Cool.
go?
Sure thing. So I'm Claudio Lasalo. And what have I been doing since the last brown bag? Gee, it seems like it's been, what, 4 years since the last one? 3 to 4 years at
More
least?
than that, yeah.
And yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, I mean, the last 3 to 4 years, I've been mostly working with Rails. Like 90 until a couple of months ago, 90% of my time was just going on the a Rails project, a concussion management or sports concussion management website, and that has gone well. The client's pretty happy with what we've built, and JB worked on it with us. And for me, it was a great experience just learning a boatload of stuff that I had not been working with previously, since I was doing mostly like Windows applications, desktop applications. Before that, it had been like 15 years since I had worked on a web project. You know, so that was a lot of fun, and also because I was not just developing like writing code. I was working with the business, figuring out what's really important, actually figuring out what was the business, because when they first approached me, it was like, yeah, so there's this company that has a cognitive test that sends reports to a server. Can we grab that report and save it to our database? So that's how it always starts. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you need a little more than that. So that has developed into a whole thing. And with, in the United States, like all states now have the laws regarding concussion and how concussed athletes have to go through a certain protocol before going back to gameplay. So that has developed, pretty nicely. They're getting some pretty big states into it. Like they have the whole state of Michigan actually on the system now as a pilot. They're pretty happy with it. So, going through all those things, doing the development, doing the management stuff and all that, that was pretty fun. But still, I also kept doing some work with C Sharp for a client, specifically just helping them with architecture, figuring out the core pieces, the more difficult parts, putting together frameworks and stuff like that for them. And last year, I was helping out another company with some Scrum training, because they work with a multinational in Dallas, and they happen to have a branch or branches here in Brazil. So they figured out that I was still here, so they asked me, hey, can you do some Scrum training down there? I said, well, look, I'm familiar with the concepts. I'm pretty sure I've been using most of them, but I'm no Scrum master. I don't have all those certifications crap kind of thing. But still, I went there with the guys, and it was a lot of fun. I did like 3 or 4 of those, and then continue on doing some consulting with that company. It's a Java company, so it was another thing that I'm not familiar with. Like, yeah, if you guys show me code, it's gonna look like C Sharp. I probably can help. But just helping them figure out, and it's amazing. Like it's another one of those where they have this legacy application, like 25, 30-year-old legacy application that they are. It's like a client server application, and now they want to port that over to the web, and they are doing what? They are recreating exactly the same application on the web, like big forms with 30 tabs with 100 controls on the screen. They wonder, gee, why is it so slow?
Yeah.
So that has been also a fun experience. And still with this company, they asked me if I could do some Angular training. And I told them, look, on the main project I've been working on, we've been using Angular, but JB, you remember you were leading on that, and I was just doing the backend stuff. So while
Yeah.
I knew like the concepts, I understood what was going on there, I was not really getting my hands dirty with it. But so I did two of those with one of their trainers, so I could get used to their material, and then last 2 months or so, I've been just doing some personal projects on Angular just to get a better feel for it. And like one, I'm trying to do it so that I'm using Rails just as the API
Yeah.
and having the whole front end separate. And the other one, I'm trying to do using Rails to do the asset pipeline and all that stuff, just to get a feel for it. And this is something I would love to get some feedback from you to know what's your experience with that, what worked, what didn't work. So that's been pretty much it. And I mean, I haven't been like blogging or doing presentations and stuff like that. But then one of my goals for this year was to go back to it, just do some recycling because I felt like I was running behind compared to where I was like 4 years ago. So I said, you know what? Start blogging again, maybe getting into some like presentations and stuff like that. And then I was thinking about the brown bag, and when you sent the email, it's like, damn, yeah, we're definitely on the same page. I definitely want to get on it, and I think it would be pretty fun.
Yeah, and then like you can answer the questions yourself of what's Claudio up to? I'm like, he's just being Claudio in Brazil. I mean, what do you want me to say?
That's right.
I get asked that all the time. I'm like, I don't know. Just like, and so we'll start the brown bag. Now everyone knows what's going on.
Exactly.
All right, George, you want to talk?
Sure. So, unlike you guys, I have not fled .NET running. No, instead, so I've actually been working for Surge Consulting, which is like an all-remote consulting company. When I joined, actually right after EPS, I think we were like 15 people. Now we're like 150. So I've been actually building up a lot of the interviewing and onboarding and infrastructure and all that stuff. Actually doing and booking our internal developer meetings, which are patterned on the old virtual brown bag stuff. We get like about 60 people every single week and kind of set up stuff for that. Technically, I mean, I've been still doing .NET and stuff, but really JavaScript, I would say, is core. So kind of same thing as JB, except I care very much about which framework. Angular, I do not like. I do not care for. Angular 2.0, I'll probably change my opinions on, but Angular 1.0, I just dislike all of the concepts. I would rather be just doing knockout than all that. I like React fine, but just like everyone that's been programming React for a while, I don't program React like anyone else. It looks very, very different. Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of that. I've also been doing a lot of teaching. So I've been there's a local code school that I've been volunteering with for almost 2 years now. So I've been teaching. We would for a while. I was going into classrooms and teaching. Right now I actually go there and work from there and kind of work as I'm a resource for people to ask questions as they're kind of learning and going through their boot camps and stuff like that. Also do a lot of presenting. Hit up a bunch of conferences, that sort of stuff locally. Also, because I run a brown bag, whenever kind of a talk falls through, I have to step up so it's important. I always have some in my back pocket. I don't know what else. Just that. That's good.
There we go. That's
yeah.
everything.
I'll say, like, actually, I've mentioned the virtual brown bag before to people. Like if a while ago, people are like instantly tune in, like, "Oh, yeah, when's that happening?" Yeah, that. I'm like, well, it's not happening right now anymore, but yeah, but so yeah, I'm sure I can get like tons of people to be joining, like more than we probably want at first.
Well, the initial idea.
Yeah.
The initial idea came from Houston Code Camp, where it was Claudio was talking with people about how people love these type of talks and conferences where people are just sharing random things or whatever, open spaces type format. And the people are like, either I work by myself or I'm in a shop where there's not a lot of cool people or there's something like not cool, but like the people aren't as energized or enthusiastic about certain new technologies, and they're like, I have no outlet for these type of places, and so we came up with the idea of Claudio was like, let's just do this on live meeting, and I enjoyed doing it because I still do my live coding on talks, and I do. I guess everyone says I do it really well. To me, I always feel like I'm just stumbling along, and I'm like, Brown Bag teaches you, man. Like, if every week for an hour you're doing live coding at some point or whatever, like, you quickly get over the fact that you can't spell and that you have to type the same word 4 times in a row, and that you can talk and code at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I do. Like, because I do live coding for a good chunk of my talks, and people flip out about that.
Like, how can you do that? All right, before we get divergent, last but not least, definitely Mark. Does it get you chatting?
Sure.
What you do?
Yeah, so I'm still in Houston area generally. I live kind of outside Houston. And so I left .NET about 3 years ago, and I started working for Chai1, which was like a all iOS and Mac shop, and then I did iOS development for them for a little bit over a year, and then I got a call from a consulting firm in Minnesota to work completely remote for them just as an iOS developer. So that's what I've been doing pretty much the last 2 years. I've been kind of quiet on the developer scene. I don't think I've even been to a developer conference in like 3 years. Maybe I have. I don't remember. So yeah, I need to get back in it, and I'm doing different stuff. I've done a lot of Xamarin, which is a lot of C#. It's all C#. So I've gotten a lot of experience with that. I can show that. I'm building a game with a coworker in this framework called libgdx, and I'll probably highlight that next time I need to show something on here. It's basically a deploy write once, deploy everywhere platform for games, and it actually works pretty good. It's in Java. It's a Java framework. You use IntelliJ or Android framework, either one, or Android Studio, and it actually does work to deploy. Like, it will literally deploy on 3 different devices, and it does desktop as well. So you have one project you can deploy to desktop. You obviously deal with the size constraints on desktop, but then it gives you an Android project, an iOS project, and I think a Windows Phone project, but I haven't used it. So it's pretty fancy, and it's the only thing I've come across that worked that well and seamlessly to do an all-in-one deployment. So I'll show that off. I'll probably get the coworker I'm working with into the Brown Bag. He's been spending more time on it. It was a game that I had started in SpriteKit, which is iOS only, and then we decided to move it over to this so we could put it on Android.
Is it that tank game that's on?
Yeah, it's just like a shoot-'em-up game,
Yeah.
And so we've been converting what I had in SpriteKit, which was Objective-C, over to this in Java. And then I've been doing a lot of Swift. I rewrote some of my apps in the App Store in Swift, and so I'm getting pretty up to speed on that, and that's about it. I haven't done much else.
So why would you use that library instead of like Unity? Is it just easier?
Yeah, the benefit I thought Unity was too complex and too much of a learning curve from when I tried to look through the tutorials. Unity is great, I could tell, for advanced graphics games because it works well with designer apps and things to pull in designs. This is really just for building almost like 2D platformers and tile-based games, right? It's I'm sure I haven't even looked into the 3D aspect. I'm sure it can do that, but it's really easy to make simple touchscreen games, and that's what it's for, really. So I think it was the fact that it just, in the example I saw in the example game I built, it works so well that I was like, well, it's not my favorite language for sure, but it's better than some of the other frameworks I had seen. So yeah,
Funny.
it's fine. I mean, I'll show it off. I don't think Java's going anywhere either. So
Java, yeah. If COBOL is still good, then
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Java's not going anywhere. But I saw something about like COBOL's new hotness or something or whatever, and I was like, what? Like, are you smoking? Like, I coded COBOL. I know where it's strong, but I mean, by no means is it the new hotness in any sense. But of course, I am talking about I love Elixir, and let's be serious, it's just Erlang, so with some sugar on top, so I can't really complain too much.
Right.
All right, so yeah, I guess let's get started trying to do some screen sharing on some stuff because that's sort of the next level of tests. I'll share one thing and then we can just go around. See if I can share here. Share. Let's do. I think that's the one I want to share. Awesome. Yes. So I have a client, or my employer, I guess, or whatever, and today as a task was we need to have two-factor authentication. My natural response was, I thought we didn't have a product or a customer. Why do we need two-factor authentication? But it is apparently critically important that we have this. So I was looking up how to do two-factor authentication, and there's lots of little tips and stuff for how you can authenticate with Google and then have Google turn it on and then use a Google Authenticator. And I think there's actually some Rails plugins. Let's look up. I think there's Rails, Google. I think there's something, Jim, that's Heap Source, maybe. I thought they were the one that did it. You have to take my word for it. No, here we go. There we go. So there's a Rails gem apparently that some people have used to establish this. So let me cover like what the hell is two-factor authentication? So I am not a security expert, but two-factor authentication is what you do when you log in, but then like you get texted a code that you have to enter for verification, and the idea being that they need two factors to authenticate against you. So the odds of them having your email password and having your phone is lower than them having one or the other.
Except your email goes to your phone.
Yeah, shush you. So this I was looking for different solutions and actually came across a blog post. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. It's always good when I'm like, how am I going to do this? And the title thing is like, how to screw up two-factor authentication. Let's see this. Come on, internet. There we go. And so they actually reference the gem, and they're saying, yeah, look, you can do this, but it's actually, more complex. And here's like all the reasons why. They're like, hey, this is all the reasons you're going to probably fail and mess up, and you haven't thought about this stuff at all if you implement it yourself. And I go, I don't want to implement authentication because that's not what I want to do. And so they actually reference Authy at the bottom, but I didn't see the link and actually had a talk through a Slack channel with some friends, and they recommended I take a look at Authy. And from what I can tell, Authy is a service provided by Twilio. It's because you authenticate. So there we go, the Twilio service, which is good because if I was going to text anybody, I was going to be using Twilio anyway, so might as well. And I just started that this morning, but I have not finished it yet. But it looks pretty good, looks promising, and I don't have to do all the complex stuff. Plus, Twitch uses it, so I always like it when a big name brand uses one of the things because then you go to the clients or users or whatever, you can be like, yes, but Twitch uses it. It's like, it's a good choice. Don't blame me. Anyway, so yeah, so that's my thing to share for two-factor authentication using Authy. And then Heap Source has that gem, which I have not used, but I've heard good things.
I'll throw in there, by the way, if for any sort of like security stuff, like I'm not into that scene, but keeping tabs on Troy Hunt's blog is I would say is like if you're not into it and like have a bunch of different sources, like that's what I found is an amazing source for it. Like he writes concisely, clearly, and on anything that's super important, and we'll write up articles like here's everything you need to keep in mind when resetting, when doing a forget password like stuff. Um, so, so if you don't know, he's the guy that does Have I Been Pwned, and is awesome overall.
That's good. Have you done a lot
Yeah.
with like token authentication and like resetting tokens and all, and expiring?
Like JWT and stuff.
Yeah, just anything.
I mean, no, but like it's the same thing as cookie auth, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're a claims-based cookie auth, it's the same thing. You're just doing it in a URL token rather than a cookie.
Yeah, I think.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to do that this week too, and I haven't decided, I guess, what the expiration is going to be, and then how I'm going to handle that exactly with the Ember stuff. But
So,
it's okay.
I don't know. Cool.
So, any cool things you've looked up recently or today?
I mean, I can share some stuff, sure. Like gonna.
Yeah. Why don't you do your screen share? Let's see if it works.
Yeah, let's see if it works. We'll do the whole screen. All right. So actually, one of the things I've been kind of railing about lately is that people are people overcomplicated stuff with frameworks in general, but specifically because they don't understand a lot of the underlying technologies. And I've been doing a series lately on how CSS is really not that hard anymore. There's like maybe like 10 different concepts you have to understand once you do. It's just learning how to combine them together. So one of the things I did, I'm not going to do the full live coding demo here, but this is kind of the end result. It's a completely JavaScript-less tabs implementation.
Love
right?
it. This is actually an interesting
so-
topic I've been wanting to talk about too. Like, actually go to. I haven't had a Houston JS meeting in a while, but actually my next one would be like, you don't need JavaScript, and just be like nothing but like CSS things that people are using JavaScript for.
Yeah, like check that. Like you get full client-side routing and
Yeah.
everything. It's there. It doesn't work for every single scenario, but it's pretty straightforward. So, one of the things I could do is take through how you would code something like this. So I mean, and the HTML for this is super straightforward. You have an anchor link, and then you have it followed by the thing that tab refers to. So you don't even have to do the thing where there's like all the tabs are first and then later. And from then on, like the core things to understand here, I use Flexbox a little, but that's just mostly it makes it easy. Is that there is a target pseudo selector, which is highlighting whatever thing matches the current URL. So you could do stuff like hide all tab content, but then show the tab content that follows the currently selected tab.
So what does that CSS look like?
Oh, right here.
You can jump back and forth, so let me take a look.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me show.
Okay.
Pull up a good example of it. Because there's a couple different things. When I'm building it up, step by step, it makes a little more sense.
Well, there you go. Line 44 through 50. That's the target of it, right? You say, hey, display the first article.
Well, right. So right here, line 32. Okay. That's the big one. Okay, so anything that follows a .tab, which is all the articles that follow my tabs.
Yeah.
Anything that directly follows it, don't display it.
Yeah.
But, and this is right. Hold on. Where is it? Yeah, right here. So anything that follows a tab that's a target, display it as block. And then we have to actually jump through a couple of hoops in order to, like, the rest of it is basically just jumping through hoops. Because when you don't have a target at all, you still want something showing up.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to do stuff like make anything that follows a target not visible, but make the last item visible by default. But you can kind of, which is why you see stuff like this. But for the most part, like, I mean, again, if I take it through step by step, I have some slides and everything. But I've been big into that. So I do that. I'll do that. I also have another demo kind of showing how to do Flexbox together and how to actually run through the process of getting a nice layout with Flexbox and why it's not really that hard to conceptualize. There's just a couple concepts you have to understand.
I think it's good. I think also what we can do together and build the virtual brown bag site, but make it just a GitHub page and do some of that stuff.
Sure.
And,
Definitely.
Yeah, because I was like, we could just build a theme or something. I'm like, man, it's not complex. I don't want to carry over a bunch of CSS and JavaScript when we're just like going to show like a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so
we can make it all responsive and all that jazz too. Because I do actually. Previously, I thought it was lame, but I actually do enjoy making websites responsive now. Because I guess you've been doing too. Is like I'm having more fun. Like CSS is pretty flexible and awesome, and getting it to work right is cool. It's
easier than not doing
yeah.
it.
It's hard finding designers who like CSS though, and it's just like it's sort of your job, right? Like, shouldn't you get good at this?
No, I know. CSS is fun. Hey, this was a fun CSS thing I did the other day. Whee! All CSS. Whee!
Yes. I'm gonna implement that on all my buttons. Like after you hit the save button, it's gonna be the George button. You have to get it just right.
Yeah.
And if you miss, just gonna clear all your form data.
Of course.
And I'm gonna use one of the forms that Claudio was talking about with at least 40 fields on the page.
That's right.
Send deletes to all routes.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Yeah, sure, that.
Yeah. So screen sharing worked pretty well between the two. Mark, Claudia, got anything you want to share? Look at?
Let's see. Well, there's I haven't prepared anything to share here, but I do have the question, like we just mentioned, Angular 1.x and 2. I haven't messed with Angular 2 at all. I've read about it, how much people hate it. I've heard rumors
let's do a
that
time out there.
Huh?
The people who like Angular 1, me, hate Angular 2.
Okay.
George might like Angular 2 because he hates Angular 1.
Actual JavaScript modules. Okay, no, I'll say this. I mean, I do dislike Angular 1, but the core thing that I dislike about it is the frickin' there's no modules really.
No.
There's the Angular modules, which are not modules.
No.
And then there's you can't just break stuff up, and that's the biggest problem in JavaScript, and they've completely punted on that when there were perfectly good frameworks around to help them through it. So Angular 2.0 fixes that, which is, let's be honest, a majority of my anger at Angular 1. So there you go. Now you can put stuff in
love
files.
Angular 1 is easy to get going. I can put it anywhere and it rocks. Scope is freaking cool as all get out, and all this frameworky stuff I didn't have to worry about. I just sort of did it, and so I liked how I could deliver stuff fast, and it was just basically more structured and easy to use than just going playing JavaScript or jQuery. And that's what I liked about it. So that's what Angular 2 is this is what we're killing, scope. And I'm like, what? I'm out. What are we talking about here? And I knew I was in trouble based on all the blog posts that people said that how to write Angular correctly. And I look at what they're saying and I was like, I don't use that at all. No, I don't really think about it that way. Making the classes and object your controllers and stuff. And I'm like, nah, this function's fine. It's I'm attaching things to scope. I don't really care. It's all good. Dependency injection.
Sounds like you're kind of using it a lot like Knockout, basically.
Yeah, but Knockout kind of sucked. You didn't have routing, and sometimes the child relationships got awkward and weird between the view models, and communicating between them was kind of weird. And I liked the ad hoc nature of Angular a lot more. A lot of other frameworks I still have to do. I guess React I don't have to as much, which is just look, I just want this blob of data I'm receiving. I'm just gonna stick it right there, and I can access any properties I want on it. And Knockout, I had to diagram the entire thing, and also the lines of code. When I changed my knockout stuff to Angular, I mean, I forgot the exact numbers, but it had to be like my Angular code was like 20% what the knockout code was. And we're not talking about the knockout code that we had was awesome code. It was just boilerplate, just getting some stuff working. So that was really like it, but I understand why they're switching with Angular 2, but that's not really my thing. So yeah, you're asking what to do, Claudio, and I'm like, I don't know, dude. I'm moving away.
That's right. Yeah, I haven't looked into Angular 2 at all because the trainings that the company asked me to deliver is based on 1.x, and that's, I mean, okay, let me get my hands dirty on that, see what this is all about, and just learn enough so that I can deliver this stuff. But at the same token, trying it out myself. And then there's the two ways of doing it also, where you may just have, like, for instance, a Rails site, and then you drop Angular in certain parts where you really can benefit from it, or you just toss that all out and do the whole single page application and then use Angular for everything, which I'm trying that like on a side project just to see how it feels, but it does not feel right to me to go that route.
Yeah, when I was switching over from Angular, and actually I was going to start an app, a new product with this client right when Angular 2 got announced, and I was going to use Angular 1. And so I've done it before, but it's all standalone. Any of the standalone projects, I don't like build scripts are okay, and it's okay to build them. I like Gulp over anything else, but it's not fun in terms of like you're always going to have to actually manage it. And yeah, when you're building it, it's cool, but most things in JavaScript, I view it as it's a write-only mode language. You write genius, but then reading someone else's code, God, they suck. Especially that guy, that JB guy yesterday. His JavaScript code was terrible. So you read it, and it's just so build scripts is kind of like that to me. Where it's like eventually you get it to a stage where like all builds almost you're just like it works, don't touch it. like don't mess with it, guys.
Right.
But yeah, that's why right now I'm using Ember, mostly because of the Ember CLI, which allows you to like just build an entire app. So there'll be a lot of similarities to Rails. You feel like so if I want to start an Ember app, I just do Ember new and I create it, and it has a little folder structure. I add add-ons with it. While there's things I don't like about Ember, mostly Ember data, I hate, it's terrible. There's a lot of good things with it, and I sort of take the good with the bad, and with the idea that they're not going to Angular 2.0 me in the future and like destroy me. They're always going to be upgrade path, and every time some other framework comes up with something cool, it gets integrated into Ember pretty rapidly. And so I'm hoping this year Ember data gets changed. And that's another thing too. The first I didn't like Ember, and all the reasons why I didn't like Ember, they've changed and upgraded over time. Like I hated object and array controllers, and it didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, what's the difference? Why am I doing this? I don't get it. Especially array controllers. I never understood what the point of that was. But now there's all generic. And I can showcase some Ember stuff too. But anyway, I haven't looked at Angular 2, also because the people I know who are going to be using Angular 2 and TypeScript as well, it's not my style, and so not really going to go that route. You know how that is. If you can clearly be like, I don't write software the way you do. It's that TypeScript to me is like, let me see, George, if you feel like George, you sort of escaped CoffeeScript, didn't you? Like,
I didn't. I still like CoffeeScript. I mean, but with ES6, whatever. I've just been doing that. I'm a big fan of JSPM, and it works natively with ES6 so well. I was like, fine, whatever. But I like CoffeeScript a lot. I still wish I was using it. I like significant white space.
I do like significant white space, but CoffeeScript to me has a point where it's like, look, JavaScript is a lingua franca; it's everywhere. So we'll just stick with JavaScript. And right. ES6 is basically saying that this is what JavaScript is going to move to. Asterisk. We think, not really sure. There's a timeline, but we're not really sure about this. I'm going to be using Babel for the rest of the time.
Yeah. I think. Well, first of all, dude. Like, everything except modules and certain bits of the spread operator are totally in Chrome right now.
Yeah.
Like generators have actually been in browsers for like a year, which is not something that anyone knows.
Yeah.
But like a lot of that is, but yeah, I mean, like at this point, ES6 is basically CoffeeScript just without significant white space. So whatever, I'll cope.
Semicolons? Are you still a semicolon person or not?
Well, I just don't bother with them most of the time. Whatever,
Yeah.
I know the rules. I'm not gonna.
I'd leave them off.
Yeah, I'm not gonna reject a pull like a pull request or a code review because of it. But like, I don't do it. Yeah.
And in JavaScript, single quote and double quote have a preference.
Single quote for symbol type things, double quote for things humans will read. So single quote for the Ruby equivalent of a symbol.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's so complex, dude. I just whatever I'm feeling at the time.
The problem is though that now you have backtick, which
exactly.
which can be either.
Yeah, exactly. And I was when I did the string interpolation, I was like, oh, backtick. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what we really need is another way of making strings.
Oh man, that reminds me of Foxbro. Foxbro had like 3 ways to define strings.
So working with so I wrote this Node script to generate this PDF file. We can cover through it because actually the app I'm working on is pretty cool. The stuff that we can do. But he hasn't been doing Node or JavaScript in a while, I guess, and he's hacking through it. And he's like, I need to do some string interpolation. Like, so how do I do that? And the Node that we're doing is we're not doing any ES6 stuff. So it's just like you just concat the strings together. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to concat these strings like an animal. Just like plus this string, plus this string. He's like, we've gone back in time. I was like, yep, that's JavaScript for you.
I mean, I'm pretty strongly of the opinion that we're like on the downslope of JavaScript at this point. I mean, like, I love JavaScript, which means I'm allowed to hate it. Like, I use JavaScript a lot, so it's fine. But yeah, I think JavaScript is probably on its way out, albeit with very, very slowly. But we've seen peak JavaScript probably.
He also had to do a range, and he was trying to do the Ruby range, and I was like, I can't. Maybe you know what a library or something gives you ranges, but I don't remember of any. So
Sure.
I was like, oh, he's like, just use a for loop, and he's like, what is this? Why am I doing this? So what would be a library that uses ranges? Like you need to make a range for.
Well, so Lodash underscore and whatever their equivalent with generators is also the way to do that. If
We have Lodash, so
Yeah.
where's the? I couldn't find it. What's the Lodash?
Right. Well, yeah. So Lodash has it, but also there is a JavaScript way to do it, and it's new array with the pass into the constructor the number of items you want, which generates an array with that many spaces. No, I'm sorry. You do array.fill with that number of items, which generates an array with that many spaces, and then dot map that, and then return the index, and then that gives you that many things. It gives you a range. You don't need to worry about it. Don't do that. Just use Lodash. But
Hey,
that
I
is
gotta
the
step off,
JavaScript way
guys.
of
I'll
doing
see you
it.
next week.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Yep.
All right, man.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about time? Because, like I said, 12:30 is better for me. But if you guys have any problem with that, I can figure it out.
I'm fine either way. Either way works for me. Because I'm like 4 hours ahead of you.
Did JB get dropped?
Oh, it looks like.
Oh,
the heck?
where did he go?
Seemed like he dropped out at the same time as Mark. That's
Yeah.
weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does I think the time I was out because of my internet here, what did I miss here? Because I noticed that the thing on Hangout looks different on the left. So is it a different
Hey,
way to get to
Okay.
it?
Yeah, sorry, I hit that.
Kevin.
Wait, so whatever you were saying, Claudio, just now, it
Yeah, no,
broke
I
up.
was, I was just gonna say maybe I missed what you guys were doing during the time that I was out because of my internet. So every week, how are we gonna do this? Do we have like a unique link that we're going to be using, and we just get on that link, or do we have to generate a new link a new URL every week? How does it work?
So I think we can use a URL. I'm not sure if I ever got that set up, but I'm thinking we can. Each one would be a new event, though, so that we record it and then save it and so forth.
Okay.
In fact, I think I'll just stop the broadcast now, I guess, or since we're wrapping things up, we'll
Sure.
talk shop.
Yeah.
All right.